Welcome to this edition of Groundbreakers. I'm CGTN reporter Ziyuan. China and Hungary celebrates the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties. Today, our discussion will be focusing on a lot more and also talking about music, culture, and the upcoming visit. First of all is Ma Junshi, Associate Professor of Institute of European Studies at Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. And also next to him is Li Tianyu, currently a master's student at Renmin University of China. And also joining us today is former chief performer of erhu at the 12 Girls Band. And to pave the way for today's discussion, let's enjoy the chardas normally played by violin, but we're enjoying an erhu version. Let's welcome Shangguan 老师。 Before I come to Shangguan 老师, Tianyu, what's your thought?
Oh my God, what an amazing performance. I feel like I'm back to Hungary again.
We know that this song is traditionally played by violin, but you are giving us an erhu version. The expression can differ from instrument to instrument. Share your thoughts with us.
好的，因为这一首这个查尔达什的这首作品是很早。
When we were performing overseas, Chinese traditional musical instruments were already very eye-catching on the stage. In fact, it's difficult to resonate with the audience if you don't play their national pieces. People just come to the performance without really understanding the songs. A musical work performed with the Chinese instruments helps to quickly build that connection with the audience. From an ideological point of view, they may realize that their works can also be played by Chinese instruments, although it is very different in terms of the musical language presented. Generally speaking, there are still some limitations, depending on the preferences of the Westerners and the Easterners. Of course, when we perform, we would try our best to fit in with some of the musical characteristics of the original Western works. But after all, we still have our own characteristics and attributes here. When we perform abroad, we still play Chinese musical instruments for the foreign audiences. We have achieved this effectively. In terms of showcasing a performer's all-round technique, we will also present it together during Adagio and Allegro. First of all, we follow the music score. Then we demonstrate our techniques and work with the expression of emotion through Adagio. We also do that through Allegro.
Can you tell us about the emotions brought by this music and what kind of story does it want to convey?
他这个可能人家这个专家更了解这个乐曲的背景。
The expert here might know more about the background of this music. This music is originally from a dance of Hungarian ethnic group and has its national characteristics. Therefore, a dancer cannot just show off his or her skills. It must have a melody that showcases its strength and delightfulness. Emotions are involved, and the same applies to our folk dances. There is a side of expressing emotions and showing off skills. Our adagio is mainly about expressing emotions. When it comes to the allegro, we express passion.
而且也是我们展示一个演奏者的一个这个全方面的一个技术来讲，我们也是会从慢板和快板这种来共同呈现的。
Now turning to you, Tian, you help us understand the song itself.
So when I was a child, I've learned how to dance Chardash, and I think that hearing it playing on a Chinese instrument is such a unique experience, because now while I was listening to the song, it gave me to see the whole story from a new perspective, and it made me also proud that since it's a Hungarian national song, its origin is from Hungary, and hearing it playing on a Chinese instrument, it makes me proud of my Hungarian heritage. And as I was listening to the song, maybe you haven't noticed, but my
you were tapping on
yes, I was tapping, and I was getting really into the mood. And when the song ended, I was a little bit sad, because I just wanted to have this feeling again, because when I was listening to the song, it gave me the feeling that I'm back to my home country, and it made me feel nostalgic. Yeah.
Any thoughts, Professor?
When I was in university, my teacher taught me for several times, but I couldn't learn because you have to move your leg in quite a large pace, and I never learned that. It's such a pity.
Yes.
So, according to what Professor Ma said, the dance is actually quite fast moving.
Yes. So basically, this dance is quite tiring, and this is why when we were listening to the song, maybe you also have noticed, but there are some moments when it's really fast, and after that, for a few seconds, it becomes so quiet, and that's because of, as Professor said, that it requires such a big strength that you need to work really hard, and the dancers, like we heard that this song is quite long. It's not like just a 3 minutes.
It's like
song.
5 minutes.
Yeah, so if you have to work and if you have to dance really fast for 5 minutes, then you're gonna get tired by the end of the song. So this is why they have these kind of fast and slow changes to get the dancers to have some rest during their performance.
And we know that music exchanges and also cultural exchange is a major step and also a big step for both countries to really understand each other's culture. So help us understand the bigger picture here. As I just mentioned earlier, China and Hungary celebrates the 70th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic ties. So what is it like for both countries for the people-to-people exchange?
Well, a 75-year-old friendship is a long-lasting friendship, and under this friendship, the culture exchange can be promoted a lot. For example, in my university, as a scholar in the academy, I can offer my own humble observation in the academic sector, because nowadays we see more and more universities in China establish the Hungarian language majors, and but at the same time the situation is very similar in Hungary, and up to now I think there are 5 Confucius Institutes in Hungary, and there are more and more a China Study Center is established in these years, and the Hungarian universities organize the Hungarian scholars and who can speak Chinese and who can use Chinese as a tool to do the China study. And so I think this is the phenomenon shows nothing but one fact that China has its interest in Hungary, and at the same time Hungary has its interest in China. And I think maybe in the future our cultural exchange could be promoted further.
According to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Chinese President Xi Jinping will be visiting Hungary in early May. And in 2009, Chinese President Xi Jinping visited, at that time, Vice President visited Hungarian Chinese bilingual school. And during that visit, and also in 2023, 2 students wrote a letter to him and his wife, Peng Liyuan. And I was able to talk to these 2 students who drafted the letter and who are now studying in China. Let's take a look. Before the Spring Festival in 2023, 2 students, whose Chinese names are Hu Lingyue and Song Zhixiao, wrote a letter to President Xi Jinping and his wife, Professor Peng Liyuan, on behalf of all students in the school. They were studying at the bilingual school at that time.
Song Zhixiao and I were awarded the ambassador scholarships for the 2nd time. We felt so happy and excited about it. We want to share our happiness, so we wrote a letter to President Xi.
In the letter, they also spoke about their experience studying Chinese and also expressed their wish to study in Chinese universities.
We celebrated the Chinese Spring Festival to share our plans with the president. We wrote that letter.
Chinese President Xi Jinping replied, he and his wife were glad to hear from the Hungarian students during the Spring Festival of the Year of the Rabbit. And he still remembered the time he visited the school in 2009. He said he would like to give the students a thumbs up for their long studies in Chinese and their commitment towards making contributions to China-Hungary friendship. In his reply, President Xi welcomed students to study at Chinese universities and become envoys of the 2 countries. Now, the 2 girls are studying in Beijing. They arrived in the Chinese capital in the fall and began their journey to explore Chinese history and culture. The girls say they have embraced the opportunities the language has enabled them to.
I've started to learn Chinese since 1st grade. I want to come to China personally and make friends with the people here. I also want to experience its culture and history.
I love the historical sites in Beijing, especially the summer palace that we toured.
President Xi says Hungary was one of the first countries to recognize and establish diplomatic relations with New China. The traditional friendship between the two countries has a long history. No matter how the international situation change, China-Hungary relations have always thrived and developed. The students say through their study, they hope to seize the opportunity and push the China-Hungary Comprehensive Strategic Partnership to new heights. Ziyuan, CGTN, Beijing.
Let's turn to Professor Ma. So Hungary is a participant of the Belt and Road Initiative, and help us understand the current situation and also the ties. We talk about cultural, we talk about the music influence, but we want to dive into the economic cooperation. What's the outlook?
Hungary has always been an active participant and a very, very active participant in the Belt and the Road Initiative. And in 2015, Hungary was the first European country who signed the Belt and Road Initiative cooperation document with China. And in December of 2022, Hungary and China co-established the Belt and Road Initiative Cooperation Committee to further promote the Hungarian participation in this initiative. And through this, we can see that the two countries has a very solid foundation, a very solid political mutual trust. And based on this mutual trust and this stable foundation, Hungary will very welcome the Chinese investment. On the one hand, it is to boost the Hungarian local economy, and on the other hand, as I said, it can boost the China-Hungary cultural exchange. And nowadays, as we all know, the new energy industry is very popular, is a hotspot in Hungary, and the Chinese new energy industry flood into Hungary. And in 2020, China was the biggest FDI source in Hungary due to several very large-scale investments. And I believe that in the future, this new energy sector will still be the hotspot in the China-Hungary relations, and especially in China-Hungary economic relations, because the economic one is the foundation for these bilateral relations.
And many see this is a move by China approach the EU, and help us to understand what it means for China and also Hungary to become a good partner, and also what's the geopolitical move behind this?
First, Hungary has its own advantage, which is, in my opinion, which is much more favorable than other countries in that region. Because firstly, Hungary has a great geographical location. And if you go back to the history, we may see many wars, no matter large and small, have broken out in this region, which means this region and this location is the overland route from Asia to Europe. And number two is Hungary is EU's member states, and the EU is a single market. And as a single market, your goods, your service, and your capital can flow freely. And thirdly, Hungary has the lowest corporate tax inside the EU, even lower than Ireland, and it's about 9%. And it also has, Hungary is also one of the lowest industrial electricity price. And based on this, Hungary is a very favorable FDI destination. And because of this, the Chinese FDI flooded into Hungary. And I think these are the much more favorable advantage over other countries in the region.
And as I mentioned earlier, we are talking about music, and then we move to culture. Now we're seeing more economic cooperation. What's your own observation, Tianyu?
I think that in the past few years, it has been such a great opportunity both for Chinese and Hungarian people to, through these mutual connections, to have a great career chances, because both Chinese and Hungarian students, after they graduate from university, they can directly go and find a job at a Chinese or a Hungarian company. The reason is behind this is because now that because of these mutual connections, both Hungarian and the Chinese party are eager to have more young scholars who can speak Chinese and Hungarian as well. So in the past few years, it also has become the main goal for Hungarian students to master the Chinese language, and with the power of the language, using it as a tool, find a good job in China, which is both beneficial for their home country and it's also beneficial for China. Because as just Professor Ma said, that first you need to learn the language, because that is the core of the culture. And with the language, you are not just understanding other countries' culture or historical background, you also get to know how people in that country are thinking. Because with the language, you also learn the ideology of that nation, and you also learn how they think and why they make those decisions. And I think that this is also the key factor of why many Hungarian people decide to study Chinese, because they think that with knowing both Chinese and Hungarian, they can boost both Hungary's economy and both China's economy.
So we see really solid foundation of cultural exchanges building up the ground level, and then we see the building continue to grow. Now we're moving to economic, and obviously we're expecting to more. So Professor Ma, what can we expect in the future, especially for this visit?
Well, I think there will be 3 areas we should look forward to. And one is the infrastructure connectivity, and the second one is the new energy industry, and the third one is the strategic coordination. And regarding the infrastructure, and as you know, the Budapest-Belgrade railway project will be finished in the next year. And when it is finished, it will improve the north and the south direction infrastructure in Hungary, because generally speaking, in Hungary, the routes in this direction is very poor, and our project with the Hungarian partners will improve these conditions, and it will does a lot good to the Hungarian and the Belgrade people. And regarding the second one, as you know, nowadays many Chinese new energy industry flooded into Hungary, as the automobile manufacturers BYD and the battery manufacturers. And but not only these big factories come to Hungary, but also the upstream factories, their suppliers. And because this is a manufacturing value chain, both in battery and automobile. And so I think even in the future, the new energy industry still will provide much more expectation to us. And regarding the third one, the strategic coordination, nowadays we witness sound coordination between China and Hungary on many international and regional affairs. And through this, the two countries built mutual political trust. And both the two countries are committed to play a role for peace and security and stability. And I think this stance will not be changed in the future.
Well, being said, what's your expectation, Tianyu, especially your time spent in China, and also a lot of cooperation and collaboration we're seeing. So what's your expectation?
My expectations are that during these mutual connections, Hungary, they can develop or they can upgrade Hungary's infrastructure, and they can also improve the quality of the railroads. So my expectations that during these mutual cooperations, both countries can benefit from them, because it's also these cooperations, they can provide new job opportunities for Hungarian people. So in those rural areas where they can't find a job, then they can apply to participate in these projects, so they can also have a better life. So I hope that in the future we can have more cooperation between the two countries, and through these mutual cooperations, they can give better life for both Hungarians and the Chinese people.
Well, Tianyu and I actually explored some of the Hungarian cultural influence in Shanghai. And here is a quick look at what we have explored in Shanghai, and also some of the major influence left by, for example, Hungarian and Slovak architect Hudec, and also poet Sandor Petofi in Shanghai. Let's take a look. Hello and welcome to the Ties That Bind series. I'm reporter Chen Ziyuan. Our mission today is to trace the history of Hungarian cultural influence in Shanghai. Let's get started.
Szabadság, szerelem. E kettő kell nekem. Szerelmemért feláldozom az életet, szabadságért feláldozom szerelmemet.
Liberty and love, these two I must have. For love, I'll sacrifice my life. For liberty, I'll sacrifice my love. This is a poem written by the renowned 19th century Hungarian poet Sandor Petofi. It was popularized in China by Lu Xun, a writer, a literary critic, and a leading figure in modern Chinese literature. This statue in Shanghai's Luxun Park was donated by the Hungarian government in 2007 to celebrate the country's long-lasting friendship with China. Hungarian and Slovak architect Laszlo Hudec is another European name known to Shanghai residents. He lived in the city for around 3 decades from 1918 and designed more than 60 buildings in the city. Today, I'm meeting up with Benz, who is currently studying in China and is from Hungary. Together, we'll explore some of Hudec's designs. Hello, Tianyu.
Oh, hi, how are you? Long time no see.
So, help us understand your story here in China, and how long have you been here?
Oh, so hi everyone. My name is Ben Selenjian and my Chinese name is Li Tianyu. And as you know, I've been living in China for 5 years now, and currently I'm pursuing my master's degree in international relations at Renmin University of China.
So Tianyu, why is this building so unique?
So basically, this Wuhan Mansion is located in Shanghai's global French concession area. And this building was built in 1924, and it was celebrated for its unique Renaissance style. And here we can see some pictures, how does the building look from the inside, because now it still operates as these apartments, so people are still living in this big building, so it is forbidden for visitors to enter. But thanks to these pictures, we can get a small insight, how does this building look from the inside.
In 1933, Hudec designed a Grand Theater. He was seen as a pioneer of Art Deco in China, a style that influenced architecture and design around the world. The Park Hotel right next to the theater is another city landmark designed by Hudec. It was Shanghai's tallest building for more than 5 decades. Tell me one of your highlights since you have been here for 5 years.
So one of my highlights during my 5 years living in China was definitely when I have visited the Grand Theater here in Shanghai with my friend. Because 4 years ago when I was studying in Shanghai, I was studying Chinese, and we wanted to watch a movie in Shanghainese. So we came to this theater, and right after the movie has ended, we get out of the theater and we saw that plate right next to the front door, and that was the time when we realized that this Grand Theater was also built by Hudec Laszlo.
Knowing showing so many buildings in Shanghai designed by him. Any inspiration?
So basically this Park Hotel is one of my favorites. And after reading so much about his journey from Hungary to becoming a well-celebrated architect in Shanghai, I think it's truly inspirational, and I'm happy that I can share the same cultural heritage as him. And I think his own ideas and designs what made him so famous in Shanghai.
Welcome back to Groundbreakers. I'm CGTN reporter Chen Ziyuan. China and Hungary celebrates 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties. And we're going to talk about a lot of discussions of diplomatic ties as well as cultural exchanges. And joining me for today's discussion is Assistant Professor Ma Junchi from Institute of European Studies at Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, and also Tian Yu, currently a master's student at Renmin University of China. So we just watched the package that I've done in Shanghai with you, exploring a lot of Hungarian cultural influence in China, especially in Shanghai. Tell me about your story. I heard you also studied in Shanghai for a year. What was it like? And also the overall experience of you studying in China.
So my first time, I came in China for the first time in 2019. And since then till today, I'm still studying in China. And first, I spent my first year in China in Beijing. And I was a language student of Tsinghua University. And after my one-year language program has ended, I decided that I want to explore another big city in China. So I decided to move to Shanghai. And I found on the internet that there is this university called Donghua University, Donghua Daxue. So I have applied their language program, and I have spent 2 semesters at Donghua University. And during that time, I had a very good Hungarian friend also studying the same program as me. So we had 2 semesters to explore the city. And she told me that there is this architect called Hudec, and he has some famous buildings in Shanghai, and maybe we should go and explore them. So during weekends, instead of going to the Bund, we decided just to visit these famous buildings of Hudec, because we were also a bit homesick at that time. So by visiting these buildings and seeing that so many tourists are taking pictures and so many Chinese people love these buildings of Hudec, it made us proud of our Hungarian heritage. And whenever we were there, we had to take pictures, because we had to make sure that to prove that we are very proud of the legacy of Hudec in Shanghai.
And you have also mentioned during our visit in Shanghai that more Hungarian students actually chose to stay in Shanghai. What is so attractive? But you said you love Beijing, the capital, way more.
So basically, the main reason why I decided to study in Beijing for the first time is because at that time I was doing my bachelor studies in Hungary at Eötvös University, and my major was Chinese studies. So I have spent 2 years studying Chinese in Hungary, and after that I have received the Chinese government scholarship, so I had the chance to visit China for the first time. And I've heard that, so basically in Hungary, all of our textbooks, they were teaching us the Beijinghua, like the Beijing dialect. So we had this erhu. So I was really fond of erhu, and that was the main reason I decided to come to Beijing, because I wanted to master the erhu. And I can tell that it's not an easy task to do. And it is only mainly used in Beijing or maybe in Dongbei area. And besides these places, no one knows how to use the correct erhu in China. So I decided to come to Beijing to master the erhu. And after that, so basically, this was one of my main reasons. And the other one was that I wasn't sure that how much time I'm gonna get under my hands to explore this big country. So I wanted to make sure that I will have enough time to visit the main attractions, like the Great Wall or the Forbidden City or the Temple of Heaven. So when I was, so basically that's why I chose Beijing. So I was just like the locals. I could go and visit these places on a weekend or any time I wanted to. But still many international students end up in Shanghai because so basically, I didn't have any culture shock when I came to China because previously I also had many Chinese friends and I learned about Chinese culture and I was immersed with Chinese culture also back in Hungary. I had many Chinese friends, we had dinners together. So when I came to Beijing for the first time, it also just felt like home, because I was so used to this environment. And Chinese people are so welcoming, especially for foreigners. And I felt welcome since the first day of my arriving. And, but for many international students, basically when they come to China for the first time, that's also their first time encountering with Chinese people or just being in a situation with Chinese people. And for them, it might be frightening for the first time. But after time passes, they get used to it and they fall in love with Chinese culture and they also realize that Chinese people are so welcoming. But this process takes time. And many students, they only have like just one semester to come to China. And maybe this is why they prefer Shanghai over Beijing, because Shanghai is more international. So even though they have experienced some culture shock during their staying in China, but they can easily overcome. And the other one is that since Shanghai is more international, I would say that for those international students whose Chinese is not that good or they are not confident speaking the language, maybe choosing Shanghai is a better option, because I would say that in general you can get on in Shanghai using English quite well, but in Beijing you still need to
master the language,
yes,
and also the dialect you're
yes,
talking about.
Yes.
And speaking of that, I have been calling you Tianyu. Obviously, you have your Hungarian name. And tell us why you choose the name, and also you told me you have a surname as well.
So basically, my Chinese name is Li Tianyu, and my Hungarian name is Lengyel Bence. And this is also quite an interesting fact about Hungary, because in Hungary, just like in China, the family name comes first, and after you get your given name. And my Chinese name is Li Tianyu because my family name in Hungarian starts with the capital letter L. This is how I got Li. And Tianyu is because there was a big cultural event at the Confucius Institute in my Hungarian university. And I was so eager to have my own Chinese name that I just found a Chinese teacher and I told her that I've been studying Chinese for 5 months now, so please just give me a Chinese name because I really want to have one. But her first question was, so do you want to get a real Chinese name, or do you just want to get a Chinese name that sounds very, very foreign? And I told her that I want to get a very good Chinese name. A legit name. So this is how she came up with Li Tianyu. And I have to say that in my 5 years, during my 5 years in China, I've got this compliment from Chinese people a lot, that they really love my name because it's just so common. So if you just see my name written on paper, you wouldn't assume that I'm a foreigner. So this has also made me really, really happy.
And as you're speaking of, you have been studying the language from a very young age, and now we're turning to Professor Ma on the story of cultural exchanges, and you also share with us where this is coming from and also the ties between the two countries, especially on cultural exchange, and help us understand the bigger picture of where the textbooks coming from, how this friendship are so long lasting.
Oh yeah, yes. In the China-Hungary cultural exchange, there are many great milestones and many great figures. But I would like to mention two Hungarian sinologists. And one is rural Sandor. His Chinese name is Yu Shandu. And the other one is Gao Andre, and his Chinese name is Gao Ende. And these two people and both taught Chinese language and Chinese history in Hungarian universities, and taught Hungarian language and Hungarian history in Chinese universities. And what's more important is they co-wrote and published the first Chinese language textbook in Hungary. And it is by this four-volume textbook. At that time, the Hungarian students started to learn the real Chinese language systematically. And it is this student that stepped into the China-Hungary culture exchange and step into the political, business, and culture sectors in the future. And it is these students that contribute a lot to the bilateral culture exchange.
So we begin with song today, knowing that charas can be played by a Chinese instrument, and now we're learning that this textbook, this cultural language exchange, is what has been fundamental and promoting the relationship on, for example, business and political exchanges. A lot you talk about. So during your time here in China, is there any difference on what to expect in Hungary, and then it's still a little different in China? What are the differences when you landed in China?
I would say that the biggest difference between China and Hungary is the food we eat. And I think it's also true for Chinese students when they go abroad to pursue their studies. Their biggest concern is about the food. And I was a little bit scared, but I was quite confident because I love Chinese food. And during my university time in Hungary, I was visiting local Chinese restaurants because I was a big fan of Chinese cuisine. And I also had many Chinese friends, and they have invited me to their home, and they cooked me some real Chinese food. Because as far as you know, there are these Chinese fast food restaurants abroad, and many people assume that that's real Chinese food. But many international students came to this realization that after they came to China, this Chinese food is nothing like those Chinese fast food restaurants back in their home country, and they realized that Chinese food is delicious. Chinese cuisine is flavorful, and it's very, very delicious. So I would say that the biggest difference is maybe the food. And just to mention a few examples, like when you eat the tomato in China, you put sugar on it, right? Mm-hmm. But in Hungary, it's quite the opposite. When we eat tomato, we put salt on it.
Just like a sprinkle on tomato?
Yes, wow. So that's salty. And when we eat boiled eggs, in China, you just eat the egg as it is, but in Hungary also you put quite some salt on it, so it's also salty. And that was quite a big shock for me when I came to China and I went to the canteen in my university. And I saw that they have their tomato, and I wanted to have some tomato because I was missing tomato so much. And after I bought it, I sat down, I took a bite, and I was having lunch with my friends. And I asked them to try it because I was just guessing that maybe it has some problem. But they said, no, it's sweet. Mm-hmm. It should be sweet. So for me, that was quite a big shock that people in China, when they eat tomato, they put sugar on it. Yeah.
And before we move on to the next topic, I want to also ask you, what are some of your highlights? Because you have been traveling across the country. I know you told me you haven't been to Xi'an and also Chengdu, some of those famous cities with great cuisine. But how is it your visit so far?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, since I spent so many years in China, whenever I have the time or I get the chance to travel, I'm always on the way because I want to explore this beautiful country as much as I can, and I want to cherish every moment staying in this beautiful country. And I've been to many places in China. Just to mention a few, I've been to Inner Mongolia, I've been to Tianjin and Shanghai, Anhui province, and also Lanzhou, Donghang, Guilin, Yangshuo, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Macau, and so the list is quite long. And I still have a few places on my list, such as you mentioned, Xi'an, Chengdu, and Chongqing. And I really want to visit these 3 places, especially Xi'an, because I want to see the terracotta warriors with my own eyes, because I've learned about them a lot.
And let's wrap this session up with my question to Professor Ma. So what are some of the rooms we're seeing living examples of how this bilateral cultural exchanges have benefited the people of both countries? So what are the rooms for potential collaboration, and also what can we do more to promote this?
Well, as I said before, China and Hungary has mutual interest in each other, and this is the fundamental factor in the cultural exchange. And in the future, in my opinion, we can do more to explore the potential. And for example, on the culture exchange area, we may explore the language teaching, and because the language is the core when you want to know a country in a deep degree. And without a language, you don't know the real China. And this is one area. And the other is we can promote the culture exchange through many other channels, like the political one and the business one. Because, for example, nowadays there are many Chinese foreign direct investment in Hungary, and this is a great opportunity for China, both for China and Hungary, to know each other, because the Chinese workers will work there, will live there, and will get in touch with the Hungarian locals, and then the Hungarian locals maybe will work in the Chinese factories, and they will get each other to know each other in a much more familiar degree, and through this way, I think. This is the much more direct way and a much more easier way to promote the cultural exchange. And on the political level, China and Hungary has a very stable and very good political relations nowadays, and they have a great political mutual trust. And then it is this stable political mutual trust create a understandable and conducive environment for the cultural exchange, and it will provide confidence for the people in the 2 nations and for the enterprises in the 2 countries, and then they can explore the cultural exchange.
This wraps up our edition of Groundbreakers, and I'm Professor Ziyuan. Bye for now, and thank you our guest, Professor Ma and also Tianyu.